the way it was meant to be. And this a way I do not only endure the cold, I love the cold.
We live in a world where there's all kinds of false healers and fake alternative medicine programs you can sign up for. It's a rare moment in history when someone comes along who can perform real miracles with real evidence to back them up. Wim Hof has defied logic time and time again, and always under scientific scrutiny. He holds the world record for being able to be submerged in ice for almost 2 hours without his core body temperature changing. He's climbed Mount Everest in nothing but a pair of shorts and ran a marathon in the desert without drinking any water. He's even proven in a laboratory setting that he can withstand illnesses using the power of his mind. But he's not a freak of nature. According to Wim, anyone can do what he can do. They just have to learn his method, the Wim Hof method.
So, what is the Wim Hof method? So, now you're wondering, how do I become a superhuman like Wim Hof? Well, the method is simple and it's free. It's composed of 3 elements. The first one is cold therapy. So that's exposing yourself to cold elements, whether it's a cold shower, running out in the snow, just exposing yourself to the cold. The second one is breathing. Sounds really simple, but there is a trick to Wim Hof, his breathing method. And the third one is commitment or meditation. So this is just having the ability to have the mental toughness to endure the cold and be willing to go through these exposures. So the Wim Hof method does have many benefits, such as reducing inflammation, balancing your hormones, reducing stress, helping with fat loss, cold tolerization, and helping with getting acclimated to altitude. So these are all great, but what is most significant is that Wim claimed to be able to self-influence the autonomic nervous system, which has previously been said to be impossible since it is autonomic. Well, one study concluded he was in fact able to do so, which is pretty significant because his method could be applied towards treating patients with autoimmune disease. Alright, so let's take a look at this study. So the study evaluated the effects of a training program by Wim Hof himself and his method on the autonomic nervous system and the innate immune response. Healthy volunteers were randomized to either the intervention group of 12 people or the controlled group of also 12 people. Subjects in the intervention group were trained for 10 days in Poland with Wim, and meditation, what he calls the third eye meditation, Wim's breathing techniques, which are a hyperventilation, followed by an exhale of all of your breath, and then retaining your breath after that exhale. Lastly, they were exposed to cold, which were immersions in ice cold water. So the control group was not trained. Subsequently, all subjects underwent experimental endotoxemia, which was 2 nanograms per kilogram of what's called E. coli via an IV. The intervention group practicing the learned techniques resulted in intermittent respiratory alkalosis and hypoxia, resulting in profoundly increased plasma epinephrine levels. Also, in the intervention group, plasma levels of the anti-inflammatory cytokine IL-10 increased more rapidly after endotoxin administration. So that correlated strongly with preceding epinephrine levels, and which are also higher. So levels of the pro-inflammatory mediators were also low in the intervention group, and that correlated negatively with the IL-10 levels. So finally, flu-like symptoms were lower in the intervention group as well. So what this study concluded were that subjects were also able to demonstrate, just like Wim Hof did, that the voluntary activation of the sympathetic nervous system results in epinephrine release and subsequent suppression of the innate immune response in humans. So the results are significant because this implies that it could be applied towards treatment for conditions associated with excessive or persistent inflammation. So especially in autoimmune diseases in which therapies that antagonize pro-inflammatory cytokines that have a great benefit. So that could be applied for treatment in the future, possibly. All right, so let's take another look at other applications to the Wim Hof method, how other people are using it and applying some of the techniques. So another study called The Effect of Cold Showering on Health and Work, a randomized controlled trial. So what they did is they got a group of adults aged 18 to 65 and had them end their routine shower from hot to cold. So this is pretty similar to what Wim recommended people doing, getting exposed to cold. So what they found were that 29% of the people had a reduction of self-reported sick leave. 54% of those had a reduction of sickness with physical activity on top of that. So overall, they just reported having more energy, better quality of life, and they just felt a lot better. All right, so let's take another look at another article that refers back to the Wim Hof method. So this one is looking at controlled hyperventilation and how it can help get you acclimated to altitude. So what happened was they took a group of 26 mountain climbers and they were going to attempt to climb one of the world's highest mountains, Mount Kilimanjaro. So these group of people were non-athletes, not used to high altitude or anything like that, and a couple of them had medical conditions. So with those demographics, they were predicted by mountaineering experts to pretty much fail. But this group was given some coaching, which included mindset coaching, cold exposure, and breathing techniques. Sounds pretty familiar, right? All right, so let's take a look what happened. The results were remarkable. So first, the ascent usually is only completed by 61% of the people who attempt it, and it takes about 4 to 7 days. So of this group of people, 92% of them completed it, and they only completed it, within 48 hours, which is really impressive. And lastly, none of the trekkers had severe acute mountain sickness, and none of them reported symptoms of hypocapnia due to the hyperventilation. So in conclusion, the Wim Hof method helps with a lot of things, but most importantly, he was able to self-influence the autonomic nervous system and the immune system, which just aids in overall better wellness. So I'll post some additional stuff on here for you guys to check out. Maybe the science behind the Wim Hof method is in a science textbook used in schools, so I'll make sure to put that up there for you, and additional articles that refer to the method. All right, thank you very much. Have a good one.
Breathe. It's for free. It's life. It's good.